I built my back to this by prioritizing weighted pull-ups and working up to 30 kilos for reps. And I promise you that I can get you a similar back transformation like I have. And here's how we're gonna do that. Number one is we're gonna lock in on one lift, which is gonna be weighted pull-ups, okay, like I said before. Number two is we're gonna focus on strength, okay? And number three is just gonna be purely the consistency, okay? And so, bro, starting off with weighted pull-ups, okay? Right now, if you are at, let's say, 10 pull-ups or below, right? If you're at 10 pull-ups or less, you should just focus on getting higher pull-ups. And how you're gonna do that is with something called grease the groove. So you're just gonna be doing tons of pull-ups throughout the day. Ideally, get a pull-up bar at home and just spam pull-ups. Get like a minimum number of pull-ups for you to do daily. So let's say you're at like 7 pull-ups, and you want to work up to 20 pull-ups, right? For weighted pull-ups, that's what we want to work up to. So you're gonna have a minimum of maybe 30 pull-ups per day, okay? And you're also gonna have workouts where you do above that, but your minimum is just gonna be 30 pull-ups every single day. That's the fastest way to get your pull-ups up, is by literally just doing more pull-ups, okay? So if you're below 10 pull-ups, go ahead and do that. If you are at if you don't have your first pull-up yet, go ahead and do negative pull-ups, assisted pull-ups. I have a full pull-up guide, so I'm not gonna get into that here. But if you are below 10 pull-ups, do grease the groove. If you are above 10 pull-ups, keep on doing grease the groove. But in the workouts themselves, like, yes, you can do the, just pull-ups throughout the day, but I found like that gets you a bit too fatigued. And so doing grease the groove like 3 times per week. So grease the groove 3 times per week. And how that'll actually look like is, let's say you're at 15 pull-ups, right? You're gonna do roughly half of that. So you do roughly like 7 or so. I would do 7. So if you are right now at 15, right, for total, you go and do 7 and then 7, 7, 7. And how grease the groove, no, not grease the groove, my bad. EMOM is what I meant to say. What you do instead is an EMOM, right? Where you do basically every minute on the minute, you set a 10-minute timer, right? You set a 10-minute timer, and then every time that like minute goes down, you do, let's say like 5 pull-ups in this case, because 7 would be a bit too hard. So you do, let's say like 5 pull-ups, 5 pull-ups, 5 pull-ups, and so you start the timer, immediately go and do 5 pull-ups, okay? Once the timer hits 9 minutes, then you go and do another 5 pull-ups, and then once it hit 8 minutes, you go and do another 5 pull-ups. And how this works essentially is you just have like however much time you spent doing the pull-ups, you have the rest of the time to actually rest. And so this is really good for getting in a ton of work capacity. You're gonna get in a ton of reps in a quick amount of time. They're gonna be quality reps, and you're not gonna have to worry about like getting in a ton of volume, because it's gonna be very easy to get in that volume. If you want to bump this up even to like 15 minutes to get in even more volume, you can go ahead and do that. So go ahead, do grease the groove if you're on sub 10 pull-ups. If you are above 10 pull-ups, go ahead and spam EMOMs just 3 times per week. And moving on then, once you've hit, in my opinion, you should hit 20 pull-ups before you go ahead and start weighted pull-ups. I know some people started at 10, but I would say the minimum is like 15, ideally 20, okay? And so if you're roughly here and they're very clean reps, then you can go ahead and move to weighted pull-ups. What you're gonna do for weighted pull-ups is start off with like a smaller weight and then go for like slightly higher reps just to get adjusted to it. So for your first week, right? Week 1, just to get adjusted to weighted pull-ups and the rep range, you're gonna go for a weight that you can do maybe like 8 reps with, or 7 reps, somewhere in that range. So if you can do 20 pull-ups, that might be maybe around like roughly 5 kg, right? So just to give you some rough numbers, it'll be about 5 kg for about 7 to 8 reps. Okay? And so that's what you're gonna do for week 1, just to kind of get adjusted to weighted pull-ups, where the plate is and everything, just to show you how you want the plate, like where you want the plate to be. So imagine like that's the bar, right? So that's you hanging there. And so you're gonna want the plates to be like, this is where your knees are, right? You're gonna want the plates to be like roughly like at your knees, right? Roughly at your knees or slightly below. Make sure you squeeze them with your calves. I don't think future Orpheus will remember to put a video here, but go ahead, put it between your calves, just squeeze it. And go ahead, just do your pull-ups like that. You're gonna need to go slightly around the bar for weighted pull-ups since the tactic changes a little bit. You can just like see the first video I had put in initially in the beginning just to see the form, but it's not too complicated. Once you do like the lighter weight, you'll get used to it pretty quick. Then moving on to week 2. What you're gonna do is you're gonna go for a pretty high intensity. Okay, so we're gonna be going for 5 reps here, okay, at a pretty high intensity. So this is like an all right intensity. Maybe this is like 1 RIR, 1 to 2 RIR, something like that. 1 to 2 RIR, yeah. And then for week 2, you're gonna go 0 RIR basically. This is like week 2 to week maybe 4 even. You're gonna go for heavier weight, okay? And so here you might go for, I don't know, like 12 to 15 kilos, okay? And the point of this is because your CNS, right, your central nervous system has gotten very adapted to higher reps, right? 15 reps, 20 reps, 7 to 8 reps, lower intensity, right? It's gotten very adapted to that, and so it's going to be good at that. But it's gotten so adapted to that it sort of hasn't been changing that fast because it kind of knows what to expect. And so what we do is we change it up, we up the intensity, lower the reps, okay? And what that will allow you to do is to make faster progress than you have before because your body is going to be adapting to a new stimulus, okay? And so your progress on this is going to be really quick, but don't let it fool you. You cannot stick to this for long because it's very fatiguing. That's why I said only for maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, right, up until week 5, but you cannot stick to this for that long because you're going to get very fatigued, okay? And so stick to this for like 3 weeks or so until you see your progress is like starting to go down, you know, after you train very high intensity. So this once again should be about like 3 times per week. And once you do this, bro, you should already be working up your weighted pull-ups quite a bit. And so after doing this, you should already be at about like, once you've already hit 15, 20 pull-ups, oh shoot. Once you've hit about 15, 20 pull-ups and you have, you know, worked up to like 10 kilos, 15 kilos, you know, for 5 reps or so, and, you know, RPE 10, you should already be able to 1 rep max about like 20 to 25 kilos and with not much like, you know, much strategy in what we've done. And so moving on to strength, right? So we basically started weighted pull-ups already. Moving on to the strength side of things, this is basically going to be how to go from, you know, like some kind of unweighted weighted pull-ups, like 5, 10 kilos, right? That we said before, up to like 20, right? Up to like about 20 kilos. So the idea here, we're going to change the training up a little bit. You can either periodize your training, which is pretty complicated, takes a ton of time and a ton of like mental energy as well. Or you can just keep it pretty simple and just focus on progressive overload for now. And how I would tell you to do that is stick to something like 3x5 or maybe 3x6 or maybe 4x4. If you see what I'm doing here, like the volume is kind of the same on all of these, but it's just different rep ranges and different set ranges. And so pick whichever one of these you kind of vibe with the most. If you feel like, yeah, I really enjoy 3x6, just go ahead and do that. Have some days which are more intense, have some days which are like easier. So let's say if you train 3 times per week, right? You have 3x6 on 3 days of the week, okay? So that's 1, 2, 3. On this one, maybe you'll leave, I don't know, 2 RIR. What am I doing? 2 RIR, right? On this day, maybe you'll do 0 RIR. And then on this day, maybe you'll do like 1 RIR, right? And then you just keep on cycling that as you go on, okay? And so the idea behind this is just so that your body doesn't get too like fatigued. That's the number one thing. But also on top of that, you don't want your body to like get used to the stimulus. And so by giving it something a little bit different each time, we're able to keep on progressing. Essentially, bro, for strength, it's mainly about just doing more sets of that exercise, okay? So what I talked about there are the top sets, right? So that's going to be your top set, yeah? Your top set is going to be, let's say, 3x5. But then you're also gonna do another exercise, okay? Because why we're gonna do another exercise of pull-ups, right? So this is gonna be a weakness like based pull-up. And so why we're doing this is because when you do more pull-ups, right, you're gonna get way better at that range of motion, right? The pull-up movement specifically. And so it's gonna be much easier to progressively overload on that. And so since your strength is going up, right? Your strength is by default gonna go up when you do this. Your muscle is gonna come up with that. You know, it's impossible for it to not. And so if you're just focusing purely on strength, the idea behind this is that if we focus more on strength, we'll actually be able to build more muscle since we're prioritizing it and moving it up faster, if that makes sense. Okay? And so to prioritize strength, we're gonna add in a weakness-based pull-up. And so let's say basically everyone is weak at the top part of the pull-up. And so what you're gonna do for that is you're just gonna spend more time at the top part. So you can either do like top lock pull-ups, top lock, where you just go up and then you lock it out, hold it there for like 3-5 seconds, go back down. You can do like half lock pull-ups. Half lock is essentially you go up, lock it out, halfway down, lock it out again, right? Many ways to do this, just spend more time at that top part, okay? This is gonna be a little bit higher reps, a little bit lower intensity. So this could probably look like 3 by 8 and maybe 3 RAR. Okay, very easy, right? So, 3 reps in reserve. You might even do these unweighted, okay? Then moving on, you need to do some sort of, here I would add in, you can either add in some more pull-up work if you feel like it. Maybe, you also want to work on, some sort of specific pull thing for calisthenics. You can also add that in. But what I personally do here is just add in any row. Because your, mid-back, upper back isn't going to get too much work from pull-ups. So adding in a row here is pretty smart. You can honestly do any type of row that you enjoy, bro. Once again, we're optimizing for what you enjoy, right? What you actually how can I say this? What you will stick to in the long term, because that's actually more optimal than what will get you the fastest gains in the short term, because consistency is what we're going for, okay? So just put in a row here. I would say do something like, you could even do 4 sets here, but I'll just say 3 sets of maybe 8 to 12, and you leave the RAR at 2 to 3 RAR. Okay? And then after that, if you really want to add in some more work, you can go ahead and do that. But the thing is, bro, that these are going to be way more important than anything you do here. Let's say biceps. Okay? These will grow your back way more, obviously. These are biceps. But even if you did some rear delt stuff here, that won't do much compared to these sets. And so what I ideally want you to go for is, instead of doing a massive session where you do your top set pull-ups, weakness pull-ups, rows, biceps, rear delts, and then something else, instead of doing that, bro, we just keep the frequency high. Okay, so instead of training just 2 times per week on pull-ups, we train them, maybe 3 to 4 times per week. Okay? That's kind of what I said in the beginning with Grease the Groove, right? So we train them often, okay? And what that'll allow us to do is to have more of these effective sets. Because if you look at how much of a stimulus you get from the first set, it's your first set, bro, gives you, I think 50% of the stimulus. I'm not sure if you've seen the graph, but let me just draw it. It's basically that your first set gives you way more stimulus, and then at about the 6th set, it drops off significantly, right? So imagine these are your sets, right? Your first set gets you a ton of gains, right? A ton of stimulus. Then it goes here, boom, 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 boom. And about here, this is about the 6 sets mark. This is about where it goes down, okay? And then here, about here somewhere, is your first set. And then here is your, somewhere here is your second, third, whatever. And so if we just do the first, couple more effective sets, it'll be way better for us. And how we can get in more of those effective sets is by training more frequently. Okay? So essentially, bro, we're just gonna prioritize strength by doing a ton of the movement. Okay? We're gonna do the movements frequently. And we're also gonna do a lot of sets on it. Hold on, bro, I gotta change marker. All right, we're gonna do a ton of sets as well. Okay, so that's it for strength. Moving on then to consistency. We need to make the workouts more fun in order for you to stay consistent with them. And these are not going to be really related to like pull-ups and stuff. These are kind of like my own thing that I found that actually helps me with my workouts. Okay. And yeah, I mean, if you want to go ahead and skip this part, like I basically gave out all the value already. Like, I mean, if you want some more value, bro, before you leave, I have my Weightasthenics, that's my like school community below in the description, where you can go ahead and join. I have my free course there for weighted calisthenics. We can go ahead and hop on a free one-to-one call as well. And so, bro, moving on to consistency, making your workouts more fun, okay? Let me just list out kind of what we're gonna do, okay? It's gonna be socializing, okay? Socializing. And let me get to socializing first because I don't want to forget. So for socializing, bro, I want you to speak to like 1 to 2 new people in the gym every day. Okay, just speak to 2 new people in the gym every day. Because this is going to make your workout more fun, right? You're just going to enjoy your workouts more. And so if let's say like you're not so strong at back or whatever, right? You go find someone who's big, right? Who has a big back. And then you tell them like, yo, bro, I'm trying to work on my weighted pull-ups, for example, right? I guarantee you they'll tell you it's a good exercise, right? You tell them I'm trying to work on my weighted pull-ups, and then they'll tell you like, yeah, whatever, they'll hype you up. My dog is barking. They'll hype you up, right? So you just go ahead and speak to them, bro, and you're going to make some faster progress by hanging out with them. Maybe you hit a workout with them, bro. Even better, they'll teach you a lot, bro. Okay? So just be social, bro, and kind of enjoy the gym. The second thing, bro, is you want to be like the kind of like smiley guy, if that makes sense, okay? You just want to enjoy your workouts and smile through it even when it gets hard. Like, for a while, bro, like, I've been in like a ton of plateaus, of course, but many times, you know, when I get into a plateau, it's like, I kind of think to myself, like, damn, we hit a plateau, right? But at the same time, bro, this plateau is just like kind of another test that I have to pass in order to show that I'm ahead of even more people. And it's the same thing for you if you think about it, right? Because it's kind of like, you know, you have these like, let's say you have this like castle here, right? Whatever, this is the castle, and this is like jacked, right? This is jacked. And to get here, bro, there's a ton of like, you know, like a ton of like military guys, like there are people out here, you know? And then out here, there's like water, right? There's water around here. And then maybe there's also like some like sniper on this tower, right? He's shooting, whatever. And for you to get jacked, right, you need to pass a bunch of these little like things and kind of to get there, right? And so each plateau is kind of like passing through one of these, and more people, right? Because everyone is here, right? Basically everyone is here. 8 billion people want to get jacked, okay? I mean, most people want to get jacked. Okay, maybe it's only guys. Okay, let's say like 5 billion, okay? And then you pass this one. Here, there may be only like 500 million, right? Then you pass the next one, then there's even less and even less, and eventually, bro, you're like the couple people who are jacked, and you live a freaking sick life, right? And so, smiling through the plateaus is kind of like a way to do that, because if you're not gonna, like, if you go into the plateau thinking like, oh, I have to force it, and I have to like really get through this, bro, first of all, you're not enjoying the process, right? Which is kind of the point of working out. And second, bro, are you having a good time? You're probably not, right? And that's just gonna cause you to have a higher chance of, you know, a higher percentage likelihood of you like falling off and not being consistent. And so if you can just smile through it, bro, okay, you're just gonna be happier, and there's a higher likelihood that you're gonna stick to it. And smiling through it, a very good way to do that is just by being social once again, okay? So that's about it, bro. Weighted pull-ups take a long time to progress on, bro. Like, it's going to be a massive grind. You're going to go through plateaus. And, bro, just the main thing is freaking just stick to it, okay? Because if you don't stick to it, bro, that's how you lose, right? You cannot lose if you don't keep going. So, yeah, bro, do your weighted pull-ups. Get into weighted pull-ups. First work up to, like, 15, 20 reps. Then go on your, like, strength, whatever. Focus on getting the strength up itself. Then also keep it consistent by, you know, being social, talking to new people, smiling, and also go ahead, bro, join my free community below. Obviously, you've gotten a ton of value from this video, and I want to help you out even more. So we can hop on a free one-to-one call. I'll help you for absolutely free. And yeah, bro, go ahead, book a call, join the community, and have an absolutely amazing day. Let's get it, bro.